Welcome to the Manders Mindset podcast. Here you'll find both monologue and interviews of entrepreneurs, coaches, healers, and a variety of other people, where your host Amanda Russo will discuss her own mindset and perspective and her guest mindset and perspective on the world around us. Manders and her guests will help explain to you how shifting your mindset will shift your life.
Welcome to Manders Mindset, where we explore the power of shifting your mindset to shift your life. I am your host, Amanda Russo, and I am so excited to speak with today's guest. I am here today with probably one of my biggest fans. I am here today with Ken Reinke, and Ken is an author, even if he doesn't consider himself one, and we are going to delve down the book he wrote. He refers to himself as an old guy on a bike. He wrote a book about his transformative journey that he took on his bicycle. And we are going to delve down how and why he decided to take that journey. Thank you so much for joining me, Ken.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Ken heard most of the episodes of Manders Mindset, so if you can tell, that's why. But Ken, you already know what I'm going to say. Who would you say you are at the core?
Well, so at the core, definitely, I am pure consciousness at the core. So I know that people describe on your podcast, they describe how others might see them or whatnot. But what I'm really interested in getting into is consciousness. And we, all of us, and you, all the guests, are consciousness at their core, and everything else is kind of laid on top of that.
When did you discover that you were consciousness?
Well, I've been at it a long time. And for the purposes of this podcast, maybe the best way to look at it is that we're all conscious, and then our egos are laid on top of that. Our minds, we're conscious of our minds. So let's look at it as consciousness and the mind. And the mind can be divided into the egoic mind and the useful mind.
What would you say the ego mind is? How would you describe that?
The ego mind is the part that gets us in trouble all the time and gives us trouble, because we're conscious of our thoughts, but we're not conscious of our egos, and our thoughts come out of our egos and tend to trip us. They trip us up.
I agree with that, Ken. I do. Can you tell me a little bit about your upbringing, childhood, family dynamic, however deep you want to take that?
Yes, well, I had a rough kind of childhood. My poor mother was an alcoholic, pretty bad, and my father didn't know how to deal with that, so it was chaotic. When I, for instance, by the time I got through high school, all I thought really was that adults are only older children. So, I came out of that a little bit unhappy, but I got over it.
Any siblings?
Yes, I have 2 brothers and a sister. And so, yeah.
Where do you fall in that? Middle, older?
Yes, my sister was 2 years older, and my next brother was 3 or 4 years younger, and then the next one was a year younger. So I'm second in the lineup.
So you're kind of in the middle.
More or less.
More, you kind of are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how was that? Did you get along with your siblings growing up?
Pretty well. Yes. Yeah. In fact, I'm still close with my two brothers. My sister, not so much. She got out of the house a little early uh, in the tumult, and we didn't bond as well.
I gotcha. What state of this area did you guys?
Illinois. Happy to be in Florida now, but yeah.
How was Illinois? I've never been there.
Well, it was fine. It's not. I don't go back there anymore. I've still got a couple relatives up there, but something sent me on a life of traveling, and so I've been in 30 countries, hitchhiked all over the United States back, when hitchhiking was something you did. I've hitchhiked like 16,000 miles in the United States. And I worked in Alaska for quite a while, and the company would fly me up from Seattle. I've been living in Florida, and so one of the ways that I would get to Seattle is hitchhiking. So lots of traveling.
And no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say 30 countries backpack traveling. I mean, just a traveling crazy guy.
What got you interested in traveling?
Well, we always enjoyed traveling when we were younger. We liked going places and never really outgrew that. Just liking to see new places. I've taken it to a tremendous extent, but still, we thought of traveling as a fun thing to do.
Did you do a lot of traveling growing up?
Well, so some, yeah. I mean, yeah, not cross country, like from Illinois, go up to Michigan or Wisconsin or Canada and stuff like that. Did a lot of canoeing up in Canada. So love canoeing, love biking. I love non-motorized transportation.
I gotcha. Were you athletic as a kid or growing up?
No, because I had polio as a baby. So I have always walked with a pretty substantial limp. Now, that didn't keep me from trying and doing, but one of the advantages to my having it at 9 months old is that I grew into it. It wasn't something like I lost my ability to walk without a limp. I just always have. So it's honestly, it's kind of an advantage to having happened that early. I've always limped.
I guess that makes sense. Like what you mentioned, like kind of an advantage it being so early. You didn't like develop the limp.
That's right. I mean, I just had to grow into it. And so that gave me a little bit of nothing's going to stop me. Not that I was prideful. It's just that I'm going to go do that. So I can swim. I can swim extremely well. So was I athletic though? No, I couldn't compete. I was always picked last in high school and junior high school. No, it's okay.
You find that funny, Ken?
Yeah, I do actually.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I get it.
What is humorous about it? I want to laugh.
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, it's what happened. It's what it was. You face up to it, and regret and feeling sorry for yourself is unfortunate. And I don't have either of those things in my kit.
It won't really get you anywhere.
No, it's no help. It just brings people down.
That's fair. So you've always walked with a limp.
Mhm.
Did you have to ever use a cane?
Oh, now I do. Oh, I do now. But I'm 70 something. But yeah, No, I've walked with a cane. It was really funny. My father was pretty fit, and when he was like 80 or 85, he had to use a cane. He goes, "It makes me look old." So I'm like, I love my cane. I love it. And now I love my walker. I love it.
Why do you love it, Ken?
Oh my goodness, it gets me around. I have one of those right now. I have one of those walkers with the little seat so you can stop and turn around, sit down on it. But I have a sort of a yard style one. It's got bigger wheels, and I can go out and do everything. So everything that I can.
I get that. Growing up was it challenging for basic activities for you?
Well, so again, I don't really remember it being all that challenging. It's just that I had to, well, like I said, getting picked last and stuff like that. But it just didn't stop me. I don't know why it didn't stop me, but I think it's because of that previously mentioned advantage that I just kept going, just keep going. I wasn't positive attitude like I am now, but I just kept going. We're gonna do this. So
Is there anything that helped you keep going?
um more now. So I don't know. I don't know where I don't know about the cause and effect. But like when I was 69, I rode my bicycle 3,700 miles to Seattle from my house here in Florida. So, but by that time, I have a mindset that allows me to do that. And I don't, my mind doesn't make me suffer so much. So I'm, you honestly, living in the moment is the very best thing anybody can ever do. And the closer you can get to living in the moment. And I know that sounds funny to people because oh, you don't plan ahead. Well, on my bicycle trip, 77 days, and I very rarely plan to stop. So I actually have consumed living in the moment. So it's a fun way to go. It's what makes life fun. And I always tell people, so sometimes I do talks now, sometimes bicycle centric, but I'm like, drop the goal. And I would say that's true. That would be true for absolutely everybody doing anything. Drop the goal and enjoy the journey. And when you drop the goal, you will enjoy the journey. It actually comes right along. So I don't know. We got into a little bit of philosophy here.
Drop the goal, enjoy the journey.
100%.
That makes sense. Now, I'm curious, before you did this big bicycle trip, I'm sure you started biking a little bit, like before you just took that big trip. How did biking come into your world?
So biking has more or less always been there. When I was a kid, when I was probably 8 or 9 years old, my father found a broken down bicycle in a ditch, and he brought it home and fixed it up for me and my brothers. And so, so for instance, walking with a limp, is it hard to ride a bike? Hell, I don't know. It isn't now. But when I was a kid, I just, got on the thing and rode it. So, but that's what I remember. I don't remember tribulation about it.
And did you consistently continue riding bikes?
Well, so again, I'm no youngster, but mostly depending on where I've lived and what I've been doing, I've usually had a bicycle. I lived in Alaska for several years, had a bicycle up there. And so I traveled around the country a lot in my car, almost always with a bicycle in it or attached to it. So again, it's that non-motorized traveling. So you can stop the car and get out and ride. And you get a more intimate look at wherever you are.
That's true. A more intimate look. Okay. So I'm curious, before you came to take this big biking trip, when did even the idea approximately? Like, you didn't just wake up one morning and be like, okay, I'm going 30,000 miles this time. He hiked and he did. He rode 100 miles last week, but like you didn't just wake up one Sunday and say, okay, we're going all the way over there.
Well, so all of my life, I have thought that riding a bicycle across the country would be a cool thing to do. So that has always been there. But I've always done other things, the foreign country travel, and I've always done other things. But then I retired and I was riding my bike 100 miles a week. And that's once at first I could ride 12 or 15 miles when I first moved to Florida, got my bike. But over a year's time, I could ride 30 miles in the morning and I would ride 100 miles pretty much every week. But that's a lot of time spent on the same trails and stuff. So it just came on automatically. It's like, I wonder if I could make it across the country. And my first trip was to San Diego. So that was a little 3,000-mile trip. But again, I'm riding a lot. I'm not a newbie at all. I'm riding a lot, but I wasn't riding a loaded bike. And every one of my cross-country trips, I've actually had several shorter cross-country trips, like to Nashville, to Key West. But I leave my carport with 50 pounds of gear on my bicycle. So I've got a tent, got 2 bedrolls. I don't sleep on the ground as well as I used to. And supplies, every things that I need. So, yeah. But to answer your question, I mean, it just came on. It's like, okay, maybe it's time for another adventure. And so off I went. I mean, I did
Wow.
research and stuff, but yeah. And there's a group called Adventure Cycling Association, and they make it a lot easier. I recommend anybody thinking about doing this kind of thing, go to their site, because they actually have maps for several ways across the United States. So the first time when I went to San Diego, I used their maps. It takes 7 of their maps, and you don't have to figure out the route. You just have to figure out everything else, but you've got a decent route, because they don't put you on the superhighways unless they have to out west or something. But, they have you on the best roads for that tier. So they have what they call the Southern tier, and that goes from St. Augustine to San Diego, and it goes right by my house. So that's what I did. I got their maps and did that. The Seattle trip 2 years later, so I was 67 when I did my first cross-country trip with no experience of cross-country or even spending the night.
And how was that?
It was awesome. But I also, like I said, by then, I don't suffer in my mind. I don't cause suffering in my own mind. And you can see it rising, and you just let it go. And let it go should be the title of this podcast, because that's what I'm expert at. Letting go. Let go.
So you say you don't cause suffering in your own mind. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, for instance, so when I crossed to Seattle, I had no maps. Well, I mean, I had local state maps and stuff like that, but I didn't have that beautiful map that the Adventure Cycling Association provides, because I was going diagonally across the United States and they don't have anything like that. So I'm now traveling I'm using Google Maps Bicycle, and I'm using paper maps. I love paper maps. But Google Maps Bicycle a couple of times put me on bridges that weren't there. So you can imagine, and one of them, I was in trouble a little bit because it was really backcountry riding, and I got there and there's no bridge and I'm out of water, but I don't do that to myself. I don't cuss Google Maps Bicycle. None of that help. I don't do anything that doesn't help. I'm like, okay, I'm stuck. I've got to backtrack out of this horrible route I just came down to find this bridge and spend a significant amount of time lost. But what are you going to do? You just got to go. You can sit down. I could call somebody, but that was the first time that happened. I was in Mississippi somewhere. And honestly, this is something, folks out there, you don't cross-country ride. A lot of times you don't know where you are anyway. You know what I mean? It's just like you turn down this road and you know you're going to go 15 miles or 50 miles or whatever, and you just go. And then it's like, oh, what road am I on? I don't remember. But it doesn't matter. So it's a freedom that cannot be described, because now I'm mostly referring to my Seattle trip. Get up in the morning, get on the road, and go. Where am I going to stop? I have no idea. I don't have any agenda unless, I've gone 4 or 5 or 6 days without a shower and I need a motel room. Then I usually have something picked out. But otherwise, it's a really cool freedom, and it's impossible to describe because nobody lives like that.
Nobody lives like that. That's true. And I want to backtrack a tad.
Okay.
You mentioned you don't do anything that doesn't help.
Yes, because what we do with our minds is we start telling stories. Now, you've got a situation here, but then you start telling stories about it. And a lot of them are poor me and, oh, poor me. And so I don't do that. I don't tell myself these stories. I go, this is the reality right here sitting in front of me. And any negative, all the negative stuff that you can throw at that, you can be mad at Google Maps Bicycle, and you can be mad that there might have been a bridge here, but it isn't here now, and stuff like that. That actually happened to me a couple times because I'm traveling backcountry stuff without maps, without a route, no route, never planning a route, I had waypoints. So I rode to a friend's house in Mississippi, and that was 850 miles. And then the next people that I was going to stay with were in Denver. So I was over what I call the hump, because at first you get out there, I don't have to be out here on my bicycle, but I am. And sometimes you're going, what am I doing out here? Why am I doing this? I could be sitting on my couch. But once you get over a hump, there's a hump that I have to get over each time. Then I'm going. And when I was at my friend's house in Jackson, Mississippi, and I look, and it's 1,000 miles to Denver. All right, so what? Let's go. 1,000 miles. So there's no, 50 miles a day, it's going to take me this amount of time. I never, ever do that to myself. And that's what robs, I might draw a parallel here but that's what robs our lives. I'm talking about a bicycle trip, and I won't do the math and I won't do all that. Well, we do that all the time in our lives. We're always doing it. It's our egos running the show. And so I don't let my ego run the show. I don't know. Does that make sense?
No, it does. It does.
Because most of us, and I did it for a long time. And, stimulus react. Nothing's ever with a clear slate to look at things. And, I noticed that sometimes you talk to people ask about their aha moment. I'm going to volunteer one. When I was in
We didn't get there yet.
What?
I said we didn't get there yet, but go ahead. Tell me your aha.
Well, I'm going to give you a good one because it fits in right here.
Okay.
When I was in my late 20s and had that rough childhood, and I'm bouncing around and bouncing like a pinball, like we usually do. And a guy handed me a book called Think on These Things by J. Krishnamurti. And I read that book, and it rocked my foundation loose, because I had what I would call a normal foundation, which is that egoic propeller that you try to plan things, and you're disappointed when it doesn't work out, and all of that suffering that we cause ourselves. And so that book was my first exposure to something called non-dualism. And it set me loose. It set me I'm like, what's going on here? Because I was always trying to figure out, what is this all about? What are we doing? And is there, I didn't find any help for myself in any religions. I looked at religions. I looked at philosophy. I read too much philosophy, but that rocked me. And so it set me on the path that I am extremely grateful to be on now, where I do not torture myself over stuff. Do I make mistakes? Oh, sure. Just ask my wife. But yeah, we torture ourselves, and we don't have to. And so that's what got me to Seattle. And I a little bit never expected to make it. I'm just pointing at Seattle. So the whole trip is like that. The whole trip is, okay, I was going to go down this road, but now the wind's 20 miles an hour in my face. So now I got to face another direction if I'm going to keep going today, that kind of thing. So no plan. No plan.
Okay. Now, non-dualism, would you say that's almost you're an observer kind of your life?
Oh, that's a cool question. Because absolutely that's the case. If you go to the consciousness instead of looking at what the mind's doing. Because our minds run us until we don't let them anymore. And then life becomes way, way better. But we're not, Krishnamurti is some obscure Indian guy. You don't even see it in philosophy, hardly. Actually, I see it now more in certain philosophers. But yeah, it's an approach to life where you let go. You just let go. Honestly, you let go.
What did you say the name of that book was again? I'm sorry for interrupting, but what did you say the name?
Well, it's Think on These Things is the title of the book, and it's by just the J, Krishnamurti. He's dead. He's gone. And he wrote a bunch of books, and I read some of them. But the thing is, what I realized later in life is was leading me to non-dualism. And there's lots of non-dual teachers. And Eckhart Tolle is one in spades. He's amazing. But he is teaching non-duality without ever saying that, which is good on him because it sounds woo-woo. Michael Singer. I don't know if you've heard of Michael Singer.
I have.
He does podcasts.
I have.
A lady that goes by the name of the moniker Gangaji. But Rupert Spira, I can name him now. In fact, a Catholic priest, Anthony DeMello, very awesome. If you've got some of that Catholicism in you, then Anthony DeMello is awesome. And he'll never say non-duality, but he's teaching it. He's telling us how to live our lives without all that junk the ego throws at us.
So you said you discovered this book in your late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
How did this shift your life, if it did, when you first read it?
Well, I thought it set me on edge. It points out immediately that the way you're looking at the world is creating problems for you. And I just thought I'm just existing, looking at the world, doing what everybody else is doing. But Krishnamurti's, he's saying, no, you're looking at the world through a mask, which is it's your ego. And that's what we see the world through, a filter of our own making, although we don't know that. I would tend to think my behaviors were whatever they were and that's the way I am. And it's a mistake. But we're not taught that when we're hardly ever. And a lot of people, they go into meditation, and I'm not saying that meditation isn't great. I never meditate. I never have. I went to a Buddhist, a Zen center every Sunday. When I lived in California, I'd go to the Zen center on Sundays for like church, but I couldn't ever, I'm not a meditator. So, but the point of meditating is to give that ego mind that break so that you can see with a clearer lens.
Now,
go ahead.
You say you're not a meditator.
No.
What do you consider meditating?
Well, when you sit down on your mat and, try to clear your mind, and you might posture or something like that. And I am definitely not against it. I just don't do it. And there's a point that you can get to, and I've certainly gotten there with more or less without meditating, but a perfectly blank your mind. Oh gosh, I wasn't going to go there, because there's something that when you let go of everything. So I'm all about letting go, but let go of everything. I mean, absolutely let go of everything. Let go of everything that you think about, in your mind. You let go of everything. You let go of your past, your future, you let go. And then you even let go of letting go. It's that much of a let go. And what I've decided is you come to pure consciousness and you experience pure consciousness. And frankly, it's joyful. It's peaceful. It's joyful. It's joy. So that really helped me when I managed that, because it's experiential and it's not describable. And I just told you my little story about letting go, but I'm really good at letting go. So, now, do I get angry? Of course, sometimes. Drop something on my foot. Try not to get angry at people. One of the things about traveling cross country on a bike, and I was alone 77 days. It took me 77 days to get to Port Townsend, Washington. And I was basically alone. But I run into people all the time, love talking to them. I was always up because I'm not suffering. I'm up. And this is, yeah, I just got in a downpour back there, and I didn't have my raincoat on and so forth. Stuff happens. But I don't know. I'm up most of the time now. I have I'm at least at equanimity. Now, there's a great word, because equanimity is you're not getting upset about stuff. You're taking life straight on without your expectations. That's part of the problem too. Oh, I gotta get 15 miles a day, and blah, 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 blah. No, can you imagine traveling, it, existing like that even for 2 months? You're just like, okay, I'm out of water. I guess I gotta get water. But it's an amazing letting go. And one of the things that I would do prior to taking this trip is so I spend a lot of time on my bike, but when I'm biking, if a leaf falls, that's my indicator to look at what I'm thinking right now. Because we just go about our minds often repeating themselves constantly and stuff like that, and we never look. But that's almost a meditative practice. I see a leaf fall. What's my mind doing? Because you can find you're grinding on something or anything, but most of the time we don't know because we don't look.
I know what you're saying. Have you heard of a man named David G?
No.
So he's recognized as for like stress management. He's a meditation teacher, very wise man. And he's the first individual that I actually was able to get into any sort of meditation through. And now I facilitate breathwork, but literally 6 years ago, I didn't meditate. I considered myself as someone who, quote unquote, couldn't meditate. But he said something that really, really stuck with me. And I'm still sharing it with anyone who will listen to me share it 6 years later. But three things can happen when you meditate. Okay. You can have thoughts, you can experience stillness, or you can fall asleep. And no, he means that truly. Meditation, so many people think it's like you're clearing all your thoughts, you're sitting like Buddha cross-legged. It doesn't have to be that. It could be a much simpler thing. You could still have thoughts and be meditating. I'm just saying.
No, that's very true, because I would call it, then you're doing meditation instead of being meditation, which I think is an important distinction, but I'm sure it sounds woo-woo, but yeah, doing meditation won't help you, but when you get to where you're being, oh, that really helps. Yeah. So
I get it. But you don't have to remove the thoughts,
no. I mean, it's almost futile. But
what's almost futile?
removing the thoughts. For most of us, most of the time, the thoughts are not just there, they're running our lives. And that doesn't have to happen. So yeah, it's cool.
That's true. So you got any biking trips coming up?
No, I can't anymore. Because of my polio, and so I've lived my whole life, so I have some scoliosis, and so I got back pain all the time, except when I'm riding the bike, which is funny. But I can't push off a loaded bike with my left leg anymore. And I actually, so I've done some cross country trips, but I was going to cross the whole country one more time 2 years ago, and I just couldn't do it. I made it 450 miles, but
Great.
I was just like, though, that it's difficult enough that it's not fun anymore, so I'm locally riding. But yeah, it's time. You know what I mean? Please, if it sounded like I was complaining, I'm absolutely not. Because that's another thing that, people complain a lot, and that never helps. But if you're complaining, that's when you need to look at your ego and go, okay, why? Actually, the why question is an awesome question. Why do I want this? Not, oh, because it tasted so good last time, but why do I actually want it? Why do I want this new car? Why can't I get by with whatever else? The thing is, fine, have whatever you want to eat, drive whatever you want to drive, but don't hinge your identity on it, because then you're more likely making people miserable about it rather than just enjoy your life. That's what I always tell everybody. Hey, look, enjoy your life. You might not really actually know what that means, but it's there. It's available. It's in the doing. It's in the rhythm of it. It's built into the rhythm of it. Does that sound too?
No, but now I want to delve down a different little hole now that we're chatting about identities. I have a question, and I ask every guest who has written a book this. Did you always, or for a long time, think you would write a book about something?
Well, a long time ago, I tried to write some fiction, but that ended up in a drawer. And so, no, I mean, and that was a long time ago. But here's something that was interesting about that period, though. So I was struggling with what one of my characters was going to do. And I was trying to force this character into an interesting situation, and I couldn't make it work. And this is so beautiful. So I stop and I go, all right, I don't know what this character's going to do. What's it going to do? So I let go of trying to control it. It was incredible.
And then you were just able to write.
The onrush of creativity just by letting go. There's that word again, that phrase. But even way back then, I mean, I had already read Krishnamurti and was stumbling down that path, and reading all kinds of philosophy, but I settled on that non-dualism. Oh, and one of the things that you see, what I describe, my little woo-woo situation where you let go of everything, and now your mind is not doing anything, and you see oneness. You see oneness like it's slapping you across the face, where most people go, oh, there's no such thing as oneness. Oh, no. There's only oneness. What we're doing is dividing the world up constantly into little bite-sized bits. And that's not the way the world is. You'll never air this.
Yes, I will. Everything is all interconnected. I agree with that. Now, I have a question for you,
Okay.
Ken. You take your big trip all the way across. When do you decide, I'm going to write a book about this?
Oh, that's right. That was your original question. I'm glad you came back to it. So went to Seattle, then went up to Alaska and visited around, came back, and I have a very good, very long time friend here. And he said, how did you do it? He said, how does a 69-year-old polio survivor, diabetic, make a trip all the way across the country while the rest of us are sitting on our couches? And I thought about that and I thought, well, I guess I'm going to write a book. And frankly, it didn't take me very long at all. It took me a long time to get it published because well, it's expensive. But the thing was, this attitude, this woo-woo attitude that I'm discussing right now is how a 69-year-old polio survivor diabetic gets across the country. You do not let your mind get in your way. Now, I didn't have to make it though. I honestly, every step of the way, I kind of, okay, that I've got this far. I didn't have the goal. I had a goal, but I never took it seriously, ever. And I talk to bike groups sometimes and I go, the goal gets in your way. Have the goal, but let go of it. And then you'll enjoy the ride. That's why when I was in Mississippi and I go, oh, Denver, 1,000 miles. So what? All right, 1,000 miles, let's go. So what I've made up these little bookmarks for my book that I hand people out that says what does it say? It says the best thing is to get out of your own way. The very best thing in life to do is to get out of your own way.
I want a bookmark, Ken.
I'll send you one.
I'll buy it from you. I'm serious. I want a bookmark.
Okay.
I do.
All right.
I love that.
Yeah.
To get out of your own way.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense. I agree with everything you were saying about the goals. It's good to have them, I think, but it's so easy to get attached to them.
Exactly. Yeah. Sure, make a goal, but don't take it seriously and aim for it. But most things in my life, I don't get where I'm trying to go. And you got to be able to go, oh, shoot, well, that didn't work. But
Shit happens.
There's no bridge here.
Shit happens.
It does. Enjoy it. That's what I say.
I have a question, and you might not even remember the answer fully to this, but before you read that book, do you think you had, or do you remember that you had a similar type of mindset to what you have?
Well, that's a cool question. And yeah, it was a long time ago. But what I remember is that it made me look at myself differently. After reading that, I'm sure was the first time that I had a better look at myself, not without me looking at me. Hey, what about these concepts that we exist in? What is it like if you don't? And so, yeah, I would say I got a better look at myself. But the problem for me, it was over a long period of time, because like I just mentioned all those other people that I've encountered and listened to, and that seeing of the oneness is experiential. You cannot think your way into it. You'll never be able to. It's when thought has stopped. And so, and most people, they don't even know, they can't even guess what that might even mean. One of the things, I know you do this breath work, and I think breath work is miraculous because for a lot of people, paying attention to your breath might be the very first time they've stopped listening to their mind. And that can only go well. And then you build on that. No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I appreciate that you're doing that. I
Thank
mean,
you, Ken.
I can see why it works.
Thank you. And now we've talked a lot about stories and identities, and I think everything in life is a story. But we've talked a little bit about identities. And before we hopped on recording, we were talking a little bit about you being an author and you not identifying yourself or considering yourself an author. You consider yourself someone who's written a book. What's the difference to you?
Yeah. Okay. Well, honestly, I don't aggrandize myself either. And to me, to say
What is aggrandize? I don't know what that
I
means.
don't make a big deal about myself. In fact, when I arrived at my goal in Port Townsend, Washington,
You didn't acknowledge that you hit the goal. Ken, you have to acknowledge it in some retrospect.
no, so, of course, I mean, I actually got interviewed by the newspaper there and stuff like that. People thought it was pretty cool. But what I know is it's grace. And I made it across the country. I just got on my bike every day and I made it. I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. I mean, the ego is really what makes you do that. And I think I've let go enough that no, and I'm an author. Oh, if I say, oh yeah, I'm an author, it sounds pretentious to me.
It sounds pretentious to you?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's different, but I enjoy my life way more now than I did for most of it because I let go.
You think celebrating in any aspect, like a goal or something you did, is just ego?
Well, okay. Yes, 100%. But
Why?
we all have them. Mine isn't gone. I'm actually talking to you. You need your ego to make conversation. We do that kind of thing. But I'm not biblical at all. But the Bible says pride goes before the fall. There's not a truer truth. And so you get prideful, it ruins everything.
I feel like prideful is different than acknowledgement,
Well, okay, so fair
Like,
enough.
maybe you're not super prideful, but even like a little, okay, I did this. So many people in the world can't or never even took an attempt to do it. Like, instead of just passing over it and doing the next thing, like,
Well, so right, I'm not just passing over it and doing the next thing. Heck, I'm on Manders Mindset. And then maybe somebody will buy my book. The Road Spoke, by the way. I don't even have a copy of it around here.
do you get what I'm saying in terms of like, maybe if it's not even celebrating, but like acknowledging that you did whatever the goal was and you achieved it. Little pat on the back. No, like, Ken, you did it. And then no.
No,
You
honestly, we went to the brewery when I got to Port Townsend. We went to the brewery.
when you got to where?
Port Townsend, Washington is where I ended that.
Do you consider the brewery you like celebrating a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, Ken. Okay, great. Great, Ken. We're on the same page. This is great. This is great. I don't mean being like prideful, but like acknowledging, like, you said you wanted to do something, even if you don't consider that a quote unquote goal, but you said you wanted to do X and you did X. Like, a lot of us don't even take the time to be like, okay, great, I actually did this. And you just keep it moving. Like, take a breath and acknowledge that you did something you said you wanted and were going to do. Like, good job, Ken.
Yeah.
You don't agree with me, and that's okay. You can say that you don't agree. You are like holding your breath, trying to not disagree. I can see you, Ken. I'm looking at you. I can see you.
Well, so you're not exactly grasping my mindset. But yeah, if I'm famous for anything, it's that I rode my bike across the country at 69 years old with my infirmities. That's what makes me special, my infirmities. And so that was years ago. I mean, now what? Yeah, well, I better go on Manders Mindset. But no, it has provided me this opportunity, and I'm grateful. Honestly, it's fun.
No,
We let too much get in our way.
I agree completely. But I think there's also a lot of negative. So many people are so negative that there's so many different things in the world that they want to do. They do it and they don't even acknowledge. You don't have to throw a freaking party, but like even acknowledging it to yourself. Oh, damn, that's good, you know? We're all so naked. We have this goal. And even if we get attached to it, but we don't even take 2 minutes to take a breath and be like, damn, good job.
Well, I'm relentlessly positive.
And you telling yourself, good job?
All I can say is I did it, and I'm thankful. That's what I am. I'm thankful. Honestly, I'm thankful. And
I'm
stuff goes wrong. You can even be thankful about stuff going wrong, because that is what's improving you to get past stuff. That's your opportunity. So, and there's lots of opportunities on a 3,700-mile bike trip.
That is true. Are you glad you took the trip alone?
Yes, I am, because I mean, I have no idea what it's like to ride with anybody else. And can they keep up? Can I keep up? And okay, so that was a freedom, traveling by myself, that I didn't have somebody else's stuff to deal with. I only had my own, and I don't throw stuff at me. So you, oh, but here's the thing also. Oh, this is important, Amanda. 77 days alone. Not that I didn't stop and talk to people all along the way. Had awesome times talking to people. Love people. But alone is not lonely. And this is integral. Alone is a situation, and lonely is a state of mind. And I don't do that to myself. That's one of those things I don't do to myself. So, if you're lonely, I would say you're doing it wrong. Because you can be with people, but the loneliness, rethink it. But then, I've been biking and camping out, and then I run into somebody and I'm effervescent, always glad to see people. And so it was awesome. And if I had to suffer some nights, in like foul weather, well, I haven't drugged somebody with me. So I don't know.
That's true. That's true. But you look at suffering in a different light.
I do.
You don't think you do?
Yes, because I think everybody else thinks of suffering in a different light. Yeah, because we create most of our own suffering.
I agree.
I hate to
100%.
throw a percentage at it, but it's probably in the high 90s. And so stop it.
How we look at things and create it 100%.
Yeah. Yes. So I don't know.
Ken, oh my gosh. I get what you mean. Now, you don't consider, you wouldn't, would you? Let me ask this instead of assuming. Would you consider any of your biking experience, either one of the two, any suffering?
Well, there's plenty of incidents that don't go well. But suffering, I think of suffering as more of what the mental thing that we do to ourselves. I got rained out of my tent one night. I mean, everything was soaked. And I'm laying there in the morning in a bag of wet feathers because a little rivulet came right through my tent and it wasn't repelling water like it used to. And so is that suffering? But I had tightly packed in a plastic Ziploc bag an outfit that I could put on that was dry. And I went down to the restaurant that was nearby and had a great time. I just walked away from my camp and kind of little bit hoped that maybe somebody would steal everything. And then I could end this damn trip. But so was I suffering? Well,
That's a negative comment, so you could end the trip.
I know, but I'm joking, honestly, because after I talked to a bunch of people, they were offering me to drive my stuff, but they didn't have electricity at their house, and stuff. And so I had to ride like 13 miles. I had to pack all this heavy, wet gear and then ride 13 miles to a laundry so I could dry everything. But there you go. That's just the way it unfolded. And any negativity that I throw on that is mine. It's mine, 100% mine. Don't do it. You don't have to. I can tell the story. I can tell stories of where stuff really shit hit the fan, but it's just a little slice of life back there somewhere. No, and right now is all there is. Eckhart Tolle says that a million times, but right now is all there is. And if you live there, it sets you free.
It's true. The past is already gone and the future hasn't arrived.
And it will be what it will be. And it's really not in our control. We love to think it is, but no, I don't think it is. Oh, but can I talk about my book for a minute? I wish I had a copy here.
Absolutely can.
So a lady the other day said that she thought it was a perfect book club book because it tells a story, and I actually include some pretty fun from my world travels incidences, but it tells a story and it crosses the United States. And she said most people could relate to some place on that route because it's the whole diagonal across the whole United States. But she also said, and this was cool for me, that the thread that runs through it about non-dualism and about how not to suffer and stuff like that, I work slowly through it. And she said it was very digestible. I didn't throw a lot of woo-woo. I just told the story of how these incidences could come up and how you don't have to suffer with them. So that was fun. And it's well reviewed on Amazon. So everybody, the road spoke.
Would you say it's an easy read?
Yes. That's one of the comments. Well, that's why I think she said that about the book club, because it doesn't bog you down with philosophy. It's experiences along the way and so forth. So no, they actually say that. I've gotten good reviews. I'm happy for it. Can I say that? I'm not ecstatic. I'm just, good. People like this book. But they, I forgot what I was going to say.
They reviewed it well. They're happy
It was
with the
well
book.
reviewed, yes. And one of the comments is made a number of times is it's easy to read. And I'm like, ooh, how easy.
No, that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing. Like, honestly, because even more so in 2026, people's attention spans And if it's too difficult of a read, like you want to learn something, but if they feel like it's a difficult read, people won't finish the book. I have had so many conversations with people in my personal life that they're like, it was kind of a difficult book. And I was like, oh, well, how'd it go? I didn't finish it. Okay.
Put this out to all your friends and test them on
I will. The road smoke. Noted. Do you see yourself writing another book?
Oh, gosh. I thought I learned my lesson, but yes, I do. I just recently, I'm like, no way, no way, no way. And now I'm like, maybe.
Any idea what it would be about?
Yes, it would be another gentle approach to non-duality, because I think it's the only way. It's the only path to happiness. Letting go. Here's a little teeny thing. When you want something and then you get it, let's say a piece of cake, I want a piece of cake. And then you eat that cake and you go, wow, that was good. Do you desire it anymore? No, you let go because you got it. Unfortunately, we keep thinking, the lesson that we keep learning, that I kept learning, is that, oh, you get something, go for more, or do it again. Or, there's this push that you do to yourself. And that's why I always say to bike journeyers, let go of that goal, let go of it, and you'll be happy. Then you're just left with the ride, and it's awesome. But if you're going, oh, I need to make another 8 miles, or I'm not making my 60, that is an approach. I don't recommend it. But we accomplish stuff. Look at you with making this podcast happen. And aren't you like 200 episodes? There's perseverance there, and I'm hoping you enjoy it. And you know what I mean? We do stuff, but I think you realize you don't have to. You just enjoy it. So do it. Now, that doesn't go for everything, obviously. Don't harm other people. In fact, I would say that, so one of the sayings that I heard a lot in my earlier days was, when somebody did something crazy, they didn't shoot up schools back then, but people do crazy stuff and they go, wow, they were out of their mind. No, 100% opposite. They're stuck in their mind. And that repetitive, I'm being done wrong and I need to make the world right, and that repetitive thinking, that's mind that makes people do stuff like that. That's mind. So learn to live without it.
That is true. I completely agree, Ken. I really enjoyed this.
Me too.
I hope that's true.
Oh, it is. It's completely true.
Well, you said before we even started recording it was going to be great. And I don't know if I trust your opinion now, because you had that thought before we even recorded.
Okay.
Now, I know you've heard of a man named Jay Shetty, because
Yes, I have.
you know the questions, as you've told me.
I do, but I didn't write them out. Go ahead. Hit me.
So I end my podcast with 2 segments from Jay Shetty. He has a podcast called On Purpose. First segment is the many sides to us. There's 5 questions, and they need to be answered in 1 word each. What is 1 word someone who is meeting you for the first time would use to describe you as?
Light.
What is 1 word someone who knows you extremely well would use to describe you as?
Other than my wife, you mean? Thoughtful.
What is 1 word you'd use to describe yourself?
Oh, happy.
What is 1 word that if someone didn't like you or agree with your mindset would use to describe you as?
An idiot.
What is one word you're trying to embody right now?
Presence.
Second segment is the final 5, and these can be answered in a sentence. What is the best advice you've heard or received?
Probably that your mind tells you what to do, but you don't have to do it.
Why is that the best?
Because it's so true. And especially when your mind is untamed, normal, ego centered. Yeah. You're not, you don't have to utter that utterance. Isn't somebody on one of your, I think it was Breathwork Magic, but they said, take a deep breath before you answer. Ooh, that's awesome advice right there.
Did you just randomly remember that advice?
Yes.
Okay. I was just curious. What is the worst advice you've ever heard or received?
Yeah. I can't think of any that's any worse than any other. The kind that goes, go for it, or especially go for it, you deserve it, or something like that.
Why is that the worst?
You know, you hear it in athletics a lot, and I think it's counterproductive
Why?
because there's a better, way more relaxed approach to life. And you can still get to the same place. You can still, I'm sure if you're physically able, you'll get there, but you don't need to grind. You don't need to grind in your mind. Okay. So I'm not talking about physically. You just don't need to grind in your mind.
What is something that you used to value that you no longer value?
Oh, actually, lots of things. Did I mention I'm not young anymore? I used to like to gamble. I don't care about it. I used to love to fish. Leave the fish alone. So that,
If you could describe what you would want your legacy to be as if someone was reading it, what would you want it to say?
I can't tell you how much I don't care about it. And I mean, to me, it'd be wonderful. Some people have gotten benefit out of my book, and I've gotten to hear about that, and I'm happy. So yeah, he wrote a book and I got some benefit out of it. I don't know. No, that's self-aggrandizement.
If you could create one law in the world
Oh,
that everyone had to follow, what would it be? And I want to know why.
I bet you do. Well, a law. Oh, I'd like to think of a good one, but I can't. So it's against the law to not be kind. Be kind. Be kind to everybody and everything. Be kind. It's not that hard, unless you're tied up in your ego, but never mind. We already covered that.
Why would be kind be the one law you would create?
Well, then we wouldn't be in such a mess. You know, I mean, things are messy. And if kindness comes first, they'll be a lot less messy.
There'd be a lot. I agree. There would be a lot less messy. I do agree. Well, thank you so much, Ken. I really, really enjoyed this.
Well, me too.
I hope you did.
No.
I hope you did. I really hope you did.
I-
Is there anything else you would like to share with the listeners before we close out? No pressure.
So what worked for me, especially in the beginning, is pay attention to your thoughts. That might be a good law too, but But I think I mentioned that I would see a leaf fall and make that my trigger to look at what I'm thinking at that moment. And it brings it right into your face. If you're thinking whatever you were thinking, and don't judge it, because if you judge it, now you're right back into the mind. You know what I mean? You step backwards. You were stepping forward, and then boom, you step backwards. Stop judging those things, but find some way, even if it's a few times a day, to see what your mind is doing as though you're observing it from elsewhere, because you are your consciousness.
Find time to specifically observe it. I really liked your example of how you did it with the falling leaves.
And biking, there's lots of them. So I've had a lot of practice. I mean, if you put the key in the ignition before you start the car, look at your mind, because you're usually in a hurry. Or find your triggers, but find some and do that. And then the next step is be constantly aware of what you're thinking. But we can't get there, except for baby steps to begin with, which was true for me.
That's true. Find the triggers. Even the obvious thing, you're putting the key in the car. People probably do that at least once a day. I like that suggestion, Ken. Thank you. I really do. Like it's a real life. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me tonight.
And I appreciate you taking the time having me speak tonight. So
absolutely, Ken. Absolutely. And thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Manders Mindset. In case no one told you today, I'm proud of you. I'm rooting for you. And you got this. As always, if you enjoyed the show, I would really appreciate it if you would leave me a 5-star rating, leave a review, and share it with anyone you think would benefit from this. And don't forget, you are only one mindset shift away from shifting your life. Thanks, guys. Until next time.